Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's time for another one of our live stream shows. That's right, it's Sunday night, y'all, and it is time for our Sunday night live stream show that we do every Sunday night right here on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook and YouTube channel. And it is January 16th, Sunday, January 16th. And we are going to get started here. Want to give a shout out to those of you who are watching. Really appreciate you hanging out, excuse me, and joining us tonight for our live stream show. And I want to give a shout out to those of you who sent stars while we were getting ready for the show. I saw Stephen Batchelor, Carla Rosario, Tim Harris with 800 stars, and Jessica Hinkle, Larry White, Melissa Chamberlain. Appreciate you guys all for sending stars. Thank you so much. Richard Blasak, those stars. If you're watching on YouTube or Instagram and you're not familiar with Facebook stars, it's just a way for people watching on Facebook to show some support, and it's super helpful to everything that we do here at Hubbard's Media and in our live stream show studio. So really appreciate it. This live show and every Sunday night live stream show is brought to you by the good people of Gator Jim's Tackle. Gator Jim's Tackle is located at 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. 33712. If you haven't checked out Gator Jim's Tackle down there off exit 16 off Interstate 275, you're missing out. Gator Jim's has the largest selection of rods, reels, lures that I've ever seen. It's crazy. Their tackle shop is incredible. If you bring a young angler there and you tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, Gator Jim's will even give a free gift to the young angler that you brought with you. So definitely go by Gator Jim's Tackle. Tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. You won't regret it. Really, really cool stuff there and crazy deals. Don't forget to comment where you're watching from. You got to comment one time in order to be eligible to win free trips. So if you haven't commented where you're watching from yet, make sure you do so. Also, don't forget to like or give the video a thumbs up. If you're watching on Facebook, give it a thumbs up. If you're watching on Instagram, double tap. YouTube, give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to share it on Facebook to your timeline, to your favorite fishing group. Really, really helpful if you do that, so make sure you do it. Also, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you're not watching on YouTube, but you like YouTube after the show, make sure you pop over there to Hubbard's Marina on YouTube and subscribe for us. We'd really appreciate it. On Instagram, if you're watching on Instagram, you're only seeing the very middle of the screen. There's a lot more of the screen that you can see if you go to your phone's browser and you go to Instagram.com and watch through the Instagram website on your phone's browser. That will allow you to turn your phone sideways and see the full screen. So check it out. If you want to win the free fishing trips that we're giving away tonight, you do have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream, then watch the full show live. And if you're picked as one of our lucky winners, you have to comment or you have to text us at that phone number within about 5 minutes to claim your free trip. So make sure you comment once and then watch the show live. If you're picked as the lucky winner, you got to text us your full home address to that phone number on the screen in order to claim those free trips. Michael D. Airmanville? Sorry, man. DeMarinville. Michael DeMarinville. Appreciate those stars, dude. Thank you. With that, we're going to get into our photos and show you guys what we've been catching inshore. Craig Robinson, appreciate those stars. Richard Littley as well. Appreciate those stars. Let's see what we've been catching inshore, show you guys what's going on inshore right now. Definitely some big redfish around the docks, piers, bridges, jetties. We've been seeing a lot of these big redfish. It's been a little tricky with the weather, but they are around. Crustaceans on the bottom, cut pinfish, cut thread fins, all great options. Big shrimp. Live shrimp seem to be working real well, especially the larger ones. around structure where bait's present, water's moving. A lot of redfish out on the flats too, those oyster bars, mangrove shorelines. At night, dock lights, bridge lights working real well for redfish. During the day, the snook are around those mangrove shorelines, grass flats, those canal docks, all good areas to find the snook. Our good buddy Joe and Luke from Salt Strong caught a big one this past week over by E.G. Simmons Park. Definitely a lot of snook action going on right now. And as that water continues to cool off, I would definitely be checking those residential canal docks, especially kind of those points, pockets, passes, the areas you want to look, especially this time of year. So check them out. Don't forget to look around those residential dock lines. Robert Holzhauser, appreciate those 1,000 stars. Mike Hart, appreciate you as well, buddy. But as I was saying, those residential canal docks generally hold a lot of snook, redfish, trout, and even sheep's head, a lot of different things, flounder, because those residential canals a lot of times have that dark bay mud, and those seawalls will radiate heat. So like at my house, our house, the back of the house faces south, so you get that afternoon sun baking on the dark gray wall, and I'm outside playing with my son after I get home from work. He's going down the slide and I'm pushing him on the swing. If I sit against that wall, it's like just you can feel the heat coming off that concrete wall. It's the same thing for these snook, redfish, and trout inshore, especially when the water's cold. Just 1 or 2 or 3 degrees of water temperature difference makes a huge difference for the fish. So when that seawall is radiating heat like that, it makes those fish turn on and it really congregates them. Adam Franklin, appreciate those 500 stars. Bradley Reddington, appreciate those stars, man. Thank you so much. Jennifer Sokira, thank you as well. So look for those sun-baked seawalls around those residential docks that are close to the points of the residential kind of finger that are adjacent to grass flats or mangroves or passes, because bait's going to congregate there, fish is going to congregate there, and it's going to be a hot spot. You can use things like Google Maps. That makes it real easy to kind of hunt for a new area. And if you know that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, you can kind of delineate where the sun's going to be baking through the day. And especially, like, for example, you got a strong east wind, you know any seawall that runs north and south is going to be wind protected. You couple that with a baking sun in the afternoon, you could go to that seawall in the afternoon and bet there's going to be snook, redfish, trout, flounder around it because it's wind protected, it's radiating heat, there's some dark bay mud there. All you need to add is the variable of a grass flat or a pass or a choke point where you know bait's going to be moving. It's pretty simple to find the areas. 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water. That's Salt Strong's favorite moniker, and they have a class on that. It's really, really cool, and it's a great saying. So I will reiterate it for Salt Strong, and they have a bunch more information on their fishing club if you want to learn more about that. But really, really interesting idea, and it holds true. So you just got to find that 10% of the water that holds 90% of the fish inshore. And offshore is the same thing. 10% of the offshore water is going to hold 90% of the fish. You just got to find those spots. Carlo Rosario, appreciate those stars. Thank you so much. And all the birthday wishes, really appreciate that, guys. My birthday is actually January 24th. But, yeah, I guess you could say it's my birthday week. I don't know. I think it started with my father had a big party up at his property up in North Florida area, and he was telling everybody it's my birthday party. I couldn't even go because I had the radio show and I had a bunch of stuff going on, so I didn't even go. But it was bannered as my birthday, so everybody's wishing me happy birthday, and it kind of trickled out online, I guess. So a lot of people are wishing me happy birthday, and I appreciate it, but my birthday is actually not until January 24th. And I'm going to spend that whole week in National Marine Fisheries meetings and virtual meetings, so super pumped about that. Mark Given, Bill Borchett, appreciate those stars. Nina McCormick with 830, thank you so much. All right, so moving on from inshore photos, let's see what we're catching near shore and offshore a little deeper. Let's see what's going on out there. We have been catching some great fish in deep water. Some big gag grouper have really inundated us as we moved into January when they closed. And unfortunately, that's something we're going to be dealing with over the course of the next couple months. Those gag grouper, they spawn in the early spring. So around March, April, they get real aggressive and they get real prolific. So we will be seeing a lot of these gag grouper that we have to catch and release. This isn't a gag grouper. This is what you call a true black grouper or a carburetia, carbo, as most people refer to them. So beautiful, true black. Not big enough to keep, but still a pretty fish. Don't see a ton of them. Here's a big cobia from our 44-hour full moon trip that came back in this morning in all that bad weather. Well, they beat most of the bad weather, but they came back in this morning with a pile of fish. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Definitely some monster gag grouper lately. A lot of these gags that you're going to see here are from a private fishing charter. We had 13 guys come down from Chicago and do a private 39-hour charter, and only 13 guys, so they caught a ton of mangrove snapper, scamp grouper, red grouper, and we also had a lot of fun on a couple really hot gag grouper spots, and had a lot of fun catching and releasing some big monster gags and using venting tools and descending devices to make sure they got back down to the bottom healthy and safe so we could catch them another day. Some big gag grouper lately and some big red grouper, and we're going to see more of those red grouper here. Today, getting prepared for the show, had a little bit more time since we had some bad weather around, so I put these in order, so they're in kind of alphabetical order, so they're all grouped together. Some nice big gray snapper lately and a lot of happy young anglers. The hogfish bite's been going real well. We've been seeing a lot of hogfish on our 10-hour all-day trips, and we've been seeing some pretty decent numbers of hogfish on our 5-hour half-day too. The 10-hour all-day is definitely the place to target the hogfish, but you're going to get a chance at them on our 5-hour half-day as well. But definitely the 10-hour gives us more fishing time and more ability to kind of hone in on them. So been seeing a good hogfish bite, live shrimp, light tackles, the way to go. Spinning rods work really well to give you a good shot at those hogfish and hopefully catch a bunch of them. That's a pretty cool difference between the color pattern in these hogfish. They're like a chameleon. They blend in with their surroundings. So the one on the left is just got a different color pattern. It was hanging in a different area, where the one on the right kind of has a more typical hogfish color pattern. Really cool how they change their colors to match their surroundings. Bunch of lane snapper recently. The lane snapper bite has been going real well near shore. On our private fishing charters, 10-hour all days, we're seeing a lot of those lane snapper. Deep water, the mangrove snapper have been just non-stop. Lots of big mangrove snapper lately. Near shore, offshore, the mangrove snapper have been really steady. On our 44-hour that came back in this morning, they limited out on mangrove snapper by like 4 a.m. in the morning. They started fishing at 7 p.m., and only made 6 stops, only 6 stops all night long from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. basically, only moved 6 times. That's crazy. Only moved 5 times for a total of 6 stops because the mangrove snapper bite was so on fire through this 44-hour trip ahead of that bad weather. Michael, appreciate those 200 stars, man. You're the man. Appreciate it. Definitely been seeing a lot of fat red grouper too. Those live pinfish, squid strips, cut threadfin, all great options for those red grouper. Even our 10-hour all days catching a few of those red grouper too. but 39 hours, 12-hour extreme trips, definitely the way to get out there, deeper water, and get a chance at some bigger red grouper. And our near-shore private fishing charters on the hub been doing really well as well. So great opportunity to get out there on the water, catch some keeper red grouper, and plenty of other good eating fish like those scamp grouper. Been having some big throwback red snapper too. The red snapper season opens June 1st. It should be open about 63 to 70 days. We'll know more on that in May. Around mid to end of May is when we find out our finalized red snapper season. But if you wait until mid to late May to book the finalized red snapper season, it will be filled up. So don't wait. Book your trips now. They will definitely open June 1st, and they should definitely be open through like August 2nd. We might even get a longer season than that. Who knows? Nice black sea bass, big scamp. Definitely a great time to get out there on the water and catch some of these good eating fish. But this time of year, it's all about timing your trips around the weather. Best fishing is always right ahead of these big storms. The 44-hour trip proved it. It was 10-foot seas on the ride home. But through the trip, it was gorgeous, 1 to 2 foot. That is a perfect example of this time of year. Right ahead of the storm, they had incredible fish, and the mangrove snapper were chewing the bottom out of the boat. And then the storm came through, we headed home, and we had full boxes of fish. And luckily, the big Florida fisherman is just such a safe, steady, stable, and just enjoyable ride. It wasn't too terrible to make it back home through that rough weather. So definitely awesome to see such an incredible catch come in through that kind of rougher weather, and really have an opportunity to catch a lot of fish ahead of that front. And then on the backside of fronts, definitely a good option too. So right ahead of the weather, and then on the backside of the weather, once the water calms down. And if you're fishing near shore, it's got to calm down and then clear up. Ali, appreciate those 800 stars, man. You're the man. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Been too long. And with that, I think it's time to give away one of our fishing trips. We're going to give away over $830 in free trips tonight during the show. All you have to do is stay tuned and watch live. And if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, text us your full home address within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. Karina Abdallah, appreciate those stars. Thank you so much. Let's see who won a 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. That is a $238 value. Let's see who the lucky winner was. Sean Paul Kelly, awesome. He won a 44-hour, he was on the 44-hour trip, and had to deal with that bumpy ride home, but hopefully got a big old pile of fish. And you just won a 10-hour all day for 2, sir. So great opportunity to come back out and do some more fishing. So awesome. With that, don't forget, if you want a chance to win those free trips, all you have to do is comment one time to make sure that you're entered to win. You got to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream, then watch the show live, claim your trip within 5 minutes by texting that full phone number down there. And also, it helps if you like the video and share the video. So like and share, and don't forget to claim it by texting us within 5 minutes your full home address. All right, with that, we have some stuff to talk about. Weather, first of all, real quick, want to talk to you guys a little bit about the weather. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, you click fishing trips, scroll down, click the weather links. It's going to bring you to our weather page. These are all the nearshore and offshore weather links that we use to check the marine weather forecast. So definitely check it out. We've got the NOAA forecast, the wind finder forecast. We've got webcams. We've got the buoys on here. And then we've got the tide information, weather modeling, and then the 7-day forecast, radars, and then our ultimate storm forecast down here. Our buddy Mike Boylan at Mike's Weather Page has an awesome website where he puts all the helpful tools we use to check the weather. So today we had a monster cold front move through, and you can see that very clearly right there with that low pressure. Tomorrow that low pressure subsides. We've got a high pressure behind it building back. And then this is Tuesday. You can see that high pressure start to settle in, and we're going to get clear blue skies, going to be gorgeous, low humidity, nice and cool. And then Wednesday, that high pressure is still there. Thursday, that high pressure starts to subside, and then it looks like Friday, going to get another front. So it is imperative that you guys think about capitalizing on this weather window. That weather window is on the back side of this weather, on the front side of the next front. So if you go up here to the wind finder forecast, the easiest thing to do is just to click on the 5 and 10 hour wind finder forecast and look at the graph. There it is. The back side of this weather on the front side of the next weather. That's Wednesday, Thursday. The 19th, the 20th looks gorgeous. So this is our Inshore Egmont Key forecast. Tuesday does not look bad by any means. Going to be a little bumpy in the morning at 3.5 foot, but going to calm down quickly to 2.5 by midday. Wednesday is less than 1.5 foot. Thursday is less than 1 foot. So weather looks pretty good there. Tuesday looks really good Wednesday and looks perfect Thursday before weather goes bad Friday. So when's the best day to go fishing? Thursday. It's on the back side of this bad weather, on the front side of the next front. Thursday's the best day. Wednesday's the second best day. And even Tuesday could be really good on the back side of this front if the water didn't get too stirred up. I would strongly encourage you to think about Tuesday's 39-hour trip. Super light load. I think there's like 25 people on it. The Tuesday or Thursday 10-hour trip. Thursday would probably be a better bet. Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, 5-hour half days, good options if you want a chance to catch some of those hogfish and plentiful others. So think about getting out on the water. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are the days to do it. With that, we want to show you something else cool that we just added to our website. So a lot of people ask us, when they are in town, like, oh, where should we go to eat? Or where do you guys recommend? I want to go have a drink. Or where do you stay? What hotels do you recommend? So finally, a dream has come to fruition. Fruition? I don't know. Something like that. On our website, under Where To, which is a new tab we've added to the top of our website. I'll zoom in a little bit here. So Where To, where to eat, where to party, and where to stay. The where to stay page is coming soon. We haven't built that one yet. But where to eat is some of our favorite local restaurants, from the high dollar kind of date night spots like 1200 Chop House, Salt Rock Grill, De Sesto Italiano, Carino's, more high dollar kind of date night spots, to the like bar scene, live music, and Shrimpies. You've got a pizza joint over there in St. Pete Beach, Vito and Michael's, that has a seafood pizza. It's incredible. The Lure downtown. I don't go to downtown St. Pete often. I try to avoid it, really. But the Lure is incredible. Hawkers is also down there. Engine Number 9. Casita Taqueria is like the best Mexican. I could stay on this page and talk about food the rest of the show, but we're not gonna, because that's why I built the page. It's all here. All my favorite restaurants, and now I'm hungry just looking at it. So check it out after the show. Also, where to party, some of our favorite local bars, local places to hang out and have a few cocktails in the time before kids, that is. and maybe sometime again soon. And then the Where to Stay page is coming soon. That's going to be really cool as well, with all local hotels that we recommend. And then under our info tab, something to keep you entertained later. You guys have requested it. I've always wanted it. Josh has built it. A Meet the Crew page. If you go under the info tab, there's Meet the Crew. And we're still kind of building it out, but we've made it public to you guys. So some of them don't have photos to them. Some of them have a lot of information. Some of them have a little bit of information. But the idea is basically to give you a lot of information, or as much as our staff feels comfortable giving, about the individual and their nicknames, their favorite food, a lot of cool information. And how to contact them if they wanted to provide their email. And some of our crew wanted to provide Cash App, Venmo, in case you want to tip our crew and you don't have cash on a trip. You'll be able to go right to this page and find their Cash App or their Venmo to tip them later as well. So, what?
It's also filterable.
It's filterable. I don't think your mic's on, Josh. No, it's not. Your mic is definitely not on. But it's filterable, as Josh was saying. So you can filter it by office staff, managers, and we're going to keep building it out and adding more information to it, and photos and other stuff too. So definitely check out the website after the show. Lots of cool new information on there to connect with us, learn more, and better improve on, and enjoy your visit. That's what it's all about. So with that, let's get into some questions. Someone said, I wish they didn't close the hut in John's Pass. They didn't close the hut. It's still open. It's just under new managers. Literally, the same staff still works there. They just, in my opinion, improved the menu. They have some really, really killer food over there. Granted, I didn't really eat at the hut very often. And when I did, I was enjoying a few cocktails. But their food was always great at the hut. And I think it's really, really good now, too. They have pork belly tacos, and if you have pork belly on your menu, I'm your guy. So it was definitely really cool. So check it out. Don't sleep on what was the hut is now called Caddy's. I think it's really good. Josh is pulling up some questions here. While he's pulling those up, I did see some people ask in the show about upcoming seminars. We don't have a seminar scheduled right now because the lady in charge of events at Bass Pro Shop, Cheryl, she's dealing with some health issues, unfortunately, battling cancer. So that's not good. So unfortunately, right now, events are kind of on hold at Bass Pro Shops. Plus, Bass Pro Shops corporate probably has an issue with this latest variant because they weren't letting me do seminars there for the longest time because of COVID, and then they finally did let me do a seminar, and now this recent spike, I don't know if they would let me do a seminar. But we do have coming up some events. We've got January 19th, this Wednesday, we have our Gator Gyms event, the Florida Guides Association annual meeting. If you're a guide or if you know a guide, make sure they're there, 6:30 p.m. at Gator Gyms this Wednesday night. It's the Guides Association annual meeting. Definitely going to be really cool and a lot of fun, and meeting and greeting other local and state. Anyone in the state who's a guide should be there. Also, we've got coming up February 15th, our Real Animals. Actually, Josh, can you pull up the website, the Dylan Hubbard website? Why am I relaying all the events when I can show you? We have built out a calendar page on our new website, CaptainDylanHubbard.com. You can just go to DylanHubbard.com or CAPTDylanHubbard.com. And then there's an upcoming events tab. So we're continuing to build this out. We still got a lot more events to add to this page. But February 15th is the Real Animals event at Bartow Ford. That's in person. It's Captain Mike Anderson, the Watts brothers, and we're going to be talking all about freshwater and saltwater fishing. They're going to be giving away bull bay rods, and there's free food and good stuff going on there. That's at Bartow Ford, February 15th. So make sure you're there. Also, check out the upcoming events tab. We're going to have those added events on there any day now, too. Plus, our truck nights going on there, our Fox 13 things going on there, all local upcoming events as well outside of Hubbard's Marina, too. So when you come into town and you want something to do, it'll be right here. It'll be really cool. So definitely check that out as we build it up and add to it. With that, let's see what questions we have. How much are the Hubbard's windbreakers? So if you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click store, Marina store, you can search for apparel and then jackets, hoodies, it's all on there. Our windbreakers, I think, are either $20 or $25. The one that I'm wearing in the live video this morning are custom all-weather jackets, like waterproof. It's super bad to the bone. That one's expensive because it's brand new and it costs us like a lot of money. So that one's selling for $70, but we have the fleece jacket, the reversible hooded jacket. We've got embroidered windbreaker. Those are all $20, $25. So lots of cheap options and more expensive, higher quality options too, right there on our online store. You can buy it now or after the show and get it ordered to your house, or you can stop by the shop and buy it in person too. So lots of different options for you there. Let's see, what other questions do we have, Josh? What's best for rod and reel setup for a 44-hour trip? So our website is always going to be your best bet for questions on tackle, bait suggestions specific to each trip, because I write them myself and I try to keep them as up to date as possible. So right on the 44-hour page is going to be 2, 3, 4 pages of information on what we recommend as far as tackle, as far as bait, as far as rod and reel. All that's there. But on a 39-hour trip, 44-hour trip, I'd bring at least 3 rods, because being an advanced angler, I want to have a rod to target each specific species. I want a lighter kind of 30, 40, 50-pound class setup, one in the 50, 60, 80-pound class, and then one perhaps in the 80 to 100, 125-pound class. And when I say that, I mean I'm talking main line, leader line, not actually rod ratings. What a lot of people mess up, and what's really frustrating is like, well, I've got a 120-pound rated rod. It's like, why? Why would you ever buy a rod that's rated for 120 pounds of pressure? You're not going to find a reel on the market that's really realistically usable that has 120 pounds of drag. So what a lot of people forget about is you could put 1,000-pound cable on a rod that's only rated for 10 pounds if your reel only has 8 pounds of drag. If your reel only has 8 pounds of drag, you can put it on a 10-pound rated rod, and you can put 400-pound test line on it, and you're not going to break the rod because the reel's drag is going to pull before the rod is going to break. So what a lot of people do is they overpower their rods, and then all of a sudden you lose sensitivity, you lose the touch, you can't feel the bite. So you want to make sure that you keep a sensitive, soft tip, a good backbone, and a nice, light, sensitive rod. You need minimal rating, in my opinion. Never, ever should you have more than a 80 to 100-pound rated rod. And that's if you're using a 9-aught or an Avet Raptor or some crazy super strong reel like a TLD 80 2-speed or big Shimano International 2-speed. Something crazy like the Talica 25, and you're got a 125-pound mainline and you're dropping down a 4-pound bait. Then I could see having a 60, 70, 80-pound, 100-pound rated rod. Outside of that, never ever will you catch me dropping down a sardine or a live pinfish on a rod that's rated outside of 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 pounds. So like the rod I fished with most is rated 30 to 80. The rod I fish with second most is rated 20 to 40. The rod I fish with really the most inside of near shore is rated to only 20 pounds. So you really don't want to overpower your rod. Your rod should be your biggest investment. It should be the thing that you pay the most attention to, and it should be super light, nice, soft, sensitive tip, the good backbone when you're bottom fishing. I like a longer butt, so I have my reel further out in front of me and I have more leverage. I like a longer foregrip, so that way if your hands get slippery, you have better grip. Also, I like making sure that it's at least 7-ish foot. 7 foot's a good all around. It makes it easier to transport, and it's still long enough to give you plenty of reach away from the boat, and you're not fighting the fish as hard. The rod's doing some of the fighting as well. So definitely some stuff to think about there. As far as your reels go, I like using a single speed high gear ratio or a 2-speed reel for my snapper fishing with 40, 50-pound main line, 40, 50-pound leaders, 6/0 double Snell rigs on a 44-hour. That medium range, I'd be fishing 60 to 80-pound leader, 7, 8/0 circle hooks, single rigged for live bait or big dead baits. And then the big rod, I'd be fishing 100, 125-pound leader, big 10, 12/0 hook for big live baits and dead baits. So definitely some options there for you for the 44-hour trip. Next question. My father-in-law had a banana on my boat in October. That evening, my running lights shorted out, and I ain't caught a fish yet out of my boat. Do I need to sell my boat? Some people, I mean, if you believe the superstitions, they do hold true. I mean, some people really believe the no bananas on a boat thing. Other people think it's more of a joke. Captain Garrett, my cousin, he thinks it's a joke. He brings bananas all the time. All the time he does it. I would personally wouldn't tempt fate, but I don't believe in superstitions, so I wouldn't mind a banana on the boat personally. But if something bad happened and a banana was on the boat, I don't know, I might feel differently. But for now, I don't really mind them. So to answer your question, that's on you. If you believe the boats or the bananas why you're not catching fish on your boat anymore, maybe it is time to sell it. Let's see here. Can you use for grouper and amberjacks large catfish tackle? I would say no. Because I don't know what you mean by large catfish tackle, but I would assume it's not applicable to offshore saltwater fishing, especially for big amberjack and big grouper that you need a lot of drag for. 40 pounds of drag or more. 40 pounds is minimal drag rating for big amberjack and big gag grouper. Really 45, 50 is going to be better or more on your drag rating for big gags and big amberjacks. You need something with low to mid gear ratio. 3-to-1 or lower is really best if you're trying to horse up a big amberjack or a big gag grouper. So as far as banana superstitions, there's a lot of reasons why bananas are considered bad luck. Go to whyarbanansbadluck.com or click the link Josh put into the comments. But I've always wanted a banana website. Josh built me one. whyarbanansbadluck.com. Let's see what other questions we have. Tipping the mates is automatic, but what about tipping the captain? So on our boats, tipping the mates is always appreciated and kind of common. It's like tipping a waiter or waitress at a restaurant. It's the crew works for tips. They work based on the gratuities of our guests, but they're good service gratuities. So if you feel well served, you feel the crew worked really hard, then you can leave a gratuity at the end of the trip. They'll come around and thank you, and you could throw them some cash tips, and the captain gets a cut of those cash tips because as the captain's job is to put people on fish and make sure the trip goes safely and smoothly, and that lends to your enjoyment of the trip, which would hopefully lead to a good gratuity for the crew. If they served you well and you had a good time, the gratuity is going to be applicable, and the captain gets a cut or a percentage of the crew's tips. That's how it works on our party boat trips. So when you tip the crew, you're actually tipping the captain as well. You're more than welcome to tip out the captain too, specifically, but they all pool their tips together and split them the same way regardless. But if you want to throw the captain specifically a tip, it's always a good idea. They'll remember you. Tipping well is always one thing that I've always done. I've always worked in the service industry, and it in my experience, always helps you to get better service next time you go around. Have you see that thing on the news recently? There was like some, this is what it was. So Key West, in Key West, everybody knows you go to Key West, you got to get the normal tourist photo with that little buoy, the southernmost point of the United States. It's right down there, like close to Mallory Square in Key West. Huge tourist attraction. It's like a painted buoy. 2 guys went out there one night and burned it, started a fire, caused a bunch of damage to it. Like it was a huge, it made national news. You know how they got found out? They were at a bar drinking, and they didn't tip their bartender. It made the news. Bartender immediately was like, those are the 2 guys who didn't tip me nothing. And he called the people on him and got them arrested. Always tip.
Right? Like, they gave me $100. I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah. They would have tipped him well. He probably wouldn't have called the police.
Right?
That was hilarious. I almost fell out of my chair when I saw that story come up. Oh, they didn't tip, so his bartender remembered him. Are you going to make some slow pitch jigging how-to videos? Well, Wally, I plan to. We were supposed to have a slow pitch jigging only trip. I think it was January 11th. Weather canceled that. We rescheduled it to January 31st, so we're really hoping to have that January 31st slow pitch jigging only trip where we are focused on it. And that during that, I hope to have my videographer with me, and we'll be specifically picking the brains of people on the boat and doing some tips and tricks. But I'm learning myself, so it will be kind of a slow pitch jigging for dummies approach to it, because I'm a dummy when it comes to slow pitch jigging myself. So it'll be interesting to learn together is what I'm getting at. Do you prefer Mustad, Owner, or Gamakatsu? I like all 3 of them, really. I would say I prefer Owner just because that's what I grew up using, but Gamakatsu makes great hooks, and there's some Mustad hooks that are awesome. But the thing about Mustad you got to watch out for is they kind of have a high-end, middle-of-the-road, and then they do offer kind of cheaper hooks too. And you want to make sure you stay towards the higher end of Mustad, at least in my opinion, because there's nothing worse than losing a fish because your hook was rusted out or dulled or it broke. So I always change hooks religiously. And a lot of people you'll see, they'll tie up like 10 extra rigs. They'll hang them on the light behind them during the trip. Keep in mind that whole trip, those hooks are exposed to salt air, salt water, salt spray. At the end of the trip, you cut the line off those hooks and you throw them back in your tackle box. They're going to get all your other hooks salty and rusty. You're going to throw that tackle box in your garage, and then all of a sudden next time you go fishing, all your hooks are rusted. So in my opinion, when a pack of hooks is $10, $15, $20, I'll go out and use a majority of them through the trip, and I'll hang up some extra leaders, but I don't go crazy with them. And then at the end of the trip, I cut off the line, make sure it makes it in a trash can. I throw the hooks away too. It is somewhat wasteful, but I would rather throw away $2, $3, $4, $10 of hooks to avoid rusting $100, $150 of hooks in my tackle box, So you got to be real careful about that. Or just make sure you rinse them off really well. There's also some hook storing methods that I've seen that I love, like Larry Miller, one of the guys that fishes with us a lot. He has one of those like 5x7 photo books that you would keep 5x7 photos, printed photos in. But instead of the photo album being full of photo prints, in the little sleeves, he sticks in there a rolled up leader. So he ties his hooks on to a leader, ties a swivel on, rolls it in a nice tight little roll, and sticks it in that photo sleeve. Pretty ingenious idea. And we've also had a lot of other ones in our supporters page, people giving tips. And Brian Angle said, just leave them for the next guy, leave them hanging on the light. I have been known to go up and down the boat and grab the extra ones hanging. Especially you're in a hot bite and you're looking, oh, that one's left over, I know that. So you never know. There's a lot of options. On your slow pitch jigging trips, what depths are you fishing in? Are there any spots available on the trip upcoming on the 31st? Yes. Tons of spots on the 31st. I think there's only like 6 to 7 people on it. We're going to take up to 12, so about half full right now, 12 people total. And we're going to be fishing anywhere from about 120 to 250 foot. We're going to be mostly drifting, if not all drift fishing, if weather allows, for that slow pitch jigging trip. All right, next question. I lived in Broward County for decades. My first fish I learned to catch was mangrove snapper. I now farm in North Carolina and can't get to my favorite fish. Are there ways to order reliable fish like mangrove snapper to be sent here? Yes. So Gulf Wild Seafood, Wild Seafood Market. Josh is going to share the link in the comments here. So it's Wild Seafood Market at Don's Dock. Those are our friends down at the end of the boardwalk. They have a seafood market. They have commercial boats. They offload commercial boats right inside John's Pass at Don's Dock. And they will pack and ship your fish for you. So you go fishing at Hubbard's Marina, you come back, the crew will offer to fillet your fish, or you can fillet them yourself. Now you have a bag of fish fillets. You can go next door to our restaurant, and our restaurant will offer to cook them up for you. You can get them grilled or broiled, blackened, fried, or Cajun fried for $10 a person, or about $10 a person. Sit on the waterfront deck, enjoy a cocktail after a fishing trip, and eat some fresh fried fish. Can't beat it. Or you can take them down to Don's Dock, and Don's Dock will take your bag of fish, they'll vacuum seal it, they'll pack it for you, and they'll ship it to your front door. So when you get home, your fish is sitting there, or they'll pack it for you in a carry-on so you can carry the box onto the plane and fly home with it. They do it all the time. They do it for a ton of our clients. So Don's Dock is a great place to go. And if you're not fishing with us and you just want fresh fish, we can't sell any fish that are caught on our boats. Any fish that are caught on our boats are recreationally caught and can never be sold, traded, gifted, or you can be gifted, but they can't be traded, bartered, or sold. So definitely stop by Don's Dock, Wild Seafood, or Wild Seafood at Don's Dock to buy fish or to have fish shipped to you. You can get them on their website too. I don't know how much it runs for packing. It's not too expensive though. Very, very nominal for packing. Freezer bag, or what do they call it? Not freeze dry, but they put them in the little bags and they use the vacuum seal. That's it. So they'll vacuum seal your fish for you. They'll portion it out. They'll put it in a box and have it all ready to ship. That's fairly nominal fee. I forget what it is off the top of my head, but you can call them and they can give you a price. Where it gets pricey is if you want it shipped to your house. That gets very expensive, especially right now. Shipping is out of this world, especially for a commodity like fresh fish. It has to go through special channels. I called them recently and they gave me a ballpark figure of like, it's going to be almost $100 to get it shipped to like Chicago. But it's like 20, I think he said like $15 to $25. They'll give you all your fish in a box, and you can take that box into the airplane and use it as a carry-on. So not too expensive if you drive it home or carry it onto the airplane. If you want it shipped home, that's when it gets pricey. Josh, that's not going to help because you're going to be buying the fish too. So it's not a reliable quote. Is the Star Deluxe 7-foot rod a good amberjack or grouper rod? Without knowing the Star Deluxe rod information, like how many pounds it's rated for, what's the backbone like, the tip like, I'm not going to be able to answer that question unless I'm holding it or looking at it myself. But Star rods are generally great options, and I would I would assume it's probably going to be a decent grouper amberjack rod, but I don't know off the top of my head. And I wouldn't be able to tell you without looking at it. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? I usually only cook fresh fish. Can you freeze fish if you thaw it and don't cook it all? No.
We're banning that guy.
No, don't do that. So if you have fish in a freezer, first of all, he said, I usually only cook fresh fish if you thaw it. Fresh fish doesn't get thawed. Fresh fish is not frozen to start with, guys. So let's clear that point up right there. So if you're thawing something out, it's not fresh. It's been frozen. But once you thaw something out that's been frozen, you can't refreeze it. Not a good idea. Especially if you've already cooked it and then you refreeze it. I wouldn't go that route. So once you've thawed it, cook it, consume it, or only thaw out what you're going to eat. That's why I always recommend to people, if you're going to freeze your fish, make sure you portion it into smaller portions. I always make my portions like 1 to 2 people. That way I can only pull out of the freezer what I'm going to eat that night or at that meal. If it's just my wife and I, or if it's my wife and my kids, then I might pull more out. But if it's just me, I can only pull one out and I'm good. And I'm not wasting fish. But I personally don't like freezing fish. I stopped doing it just because I'm spoiled. I can get the opportunity to get fresh fish a lot and go fishing a lot. So don't have to freeze fish. That's the best method. Is go fishing a lot so you don't have to freeze fish. Next question, is 4.3 to 1 a good gear ratio for a single speed reel? That's a good all around gear ratio. 4.3, 5 to 1, kind of good all around, middle of the road. Not high speed, not low speed. Good medium gear ratio, 4.3 to 1. So if you got one reel and you want to do a little bit of everything, you don't want to buy a 2-speed, that middle of the road, 4.3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, great gear ratios to aim for with a single speed reel. Time to give away another free trip. Let's see who won a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Winner is Ingrid Stadler Calloway from Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky, the home of half the whiskeys and bourbons that I drink. If you come down from Louisville, better bring some Eagle Rare with you. Let's see here. Other questions do we have? Is it hard to catch a big grouper? Hard is a subjective word. It's hard in the fact that you have to catch the right weather and be on the right trip. It's hard in the fact that you have to have a little bit of experience to present your bait naturally, make sure you're holding bottom naturally, make sure you're doing everything right to get the opportunity to catch a grouper. It's hard in the fact that you have to have a lot of patience and practice. But, I mean, once you have all the pieces of the puzzle, it gets a lot easier. But fishing is a lot like gambling. There's a little bit of luck to it. And then there's also a lot of practice and technique that you master over time. So, is it hard to catch a big grouper? It's a very difficult question to answer because what's your definition of a big grouper? To me, a big grouper is a 25, 30, 35, 40-pound fish. Some people might see a 6-pound keeper red grouper and they're like, oh, that's the biggest fish I've ever caught in my life. So it's hard to answer that one, but definitely a lot of fun to catch a big grouper. All right, let's see here. A lot of questions about Kentucky winners. It's a random name generator, guys. Literally no control over it. It does not discern where you're from. It just picks out all the comments, filters out duplicative people and duplicative comments. Picks a random one, guys. That's it. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Oh, this is a good one. I actually talked to someone about this on the phone today. Maybe you were the one I talked to. I don't know. But they asked, would you consider offering rod and reel storage for out-of-state anglers? I would load up and use you exclusively if I could leave my rod and reel there. So I've had people ask me about this in the past, and I would love to do something like this. But the problem is our storage areas and our areas are completely maxed out for our own use. And the only way we could go about getting more areas to store things would be buying an area and creating a storage facility. And storage facilities abound locally. There's like 6 storage facilities right in Bay Pines as you come onto Madeira Beach. So there's plenty of storage facilities, and people don't use them for a reason, because they don't make financial sense. I know the best thing locally that I know of is one of our guests from Chicago, whose family comes down quite a bit, and they stay for a long period of time. They rented they have at local storage facilities, you can get like a closet. Like it's 4 feet wide, 10 feet tall, 8 feet tall, or whatever it is, and only maybe 4 or 5 feet deep. It's like literally a closet. And it's like $10-12 a month for that rental fee. And that's what they rent for the year to keep all their rods and reels in. But they have a lot of issues. I've heard of storage units being broken into, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We've tried it, and I did that one time for a guy. I held all his rods and reels here because he was flying back and forth. And then someone else found out about it, and then someone else found out about it, and then all of a sudden I had 40 rods and reels. And they're covering up our office and our storage area, and it had to end. So to be honest with you, I'd love to. I don't have the room for it personally. I've asked the landlord. He isn't interested. And there's tons of storage facilities around us. So I was kind of thinking today we need to reach out to some local storage facilities and maybe get a really big unit that we could somehow split up. I don't know how it would work. I even thought today we could hang a bunch of rod holders on the roof and let people store their rods like that. But then it becomes an issue with whose rods whose, and people coming in and grabbing rods off the ceiling. It'd be a nightmare.
Kind of like Hubbard House, how they have the little, you can rent your own mug and keep it there, and they have it locked on the wall for you.
Really?
Yeah, if you go to like Hubbard House, you can buy your own mug. So
Hubbard House closed due to COVID and then sold, never reopened.
Well, I mean, it's not the only one in Florida.
Oh, really? That's like a franchise?
It's German bar. But you rent a mug, and they lock it up on the wall. So every time you come, you unlock it, get your mug, you use it for your drinks, put it back so you don't have to keep transporting it.
Interesting. Yeah, I would love to be able to do it. I just, we don't have the room for it right now. But it's something we've always been thinking about, and it took us 10 years to build a Meet the Crew page, so I'll keep it on the front of my to-do list, and maybe we'll get it done.
Don't you talk about the studio, Jim. I see you.
What about the studio? The roof of the studio doesn't hold weight. It's the paneling, so if we get another studio location,
we could probably talk to Forrest about one of
we're talking about building out a printing business now. So we might need a printing room. So if we move office locations, maybe the studio will become our storage spot. And Josh will be the great keeper of the rods. He's not making eye contact.
I was going to say something, but it's probably inappropriate, so I'm just going to be quiet.
All right, let's see if we can knock out a few more questions before the show ends. How good are ballyhoo for bait on this coast? Live ballyhoo are the most incredible inshore snook bait and tarpon bait that I've ever used in my life. I've caught a couple of them in a net, and I threw it underneath the dock and instantly got absolutely railroaded by monster snook. It was the biggest snook I've ever caught under a dock light ever, and it was like insta-bite as soon as the ballyhoo hit the water. Offshore bottom fishing, I've only used dead ballyhoo, and they do work well sometimes. They are a very oily, smelly bait, but they're super expensive. I would never, ever, ever buy them to use them for bait. But they've been left on the boat before, and I've used them for bait, and they did work well, but not well enough for me to be like, oh my gosh, I got to get some more ballyhoo for my next trip, or else we'd be using them. But we do sell rigged ballyhoo in our shop for trolling. You're welcome to bring frozen ballyhoo out in the boat to use for dead bait. They do work, but it's not really a popular bait item on our boats. What's your favorite time of year to go fishing? Every time of year. Anytime that I have, if I'm not too busy to go fishing, I love to go fishing, you know? So that's the thing is, anytime you're available to go fishing is a great time to get on the water. So many people are worried about, well, I've got this moon phase and the salooner's not until this time of the week, and the sun's at a 45-degree angle from Mercury, and
Mercury's in retrograde.
Mercury's in retrograde, and I'm a Leo, and it's like you're overthinking it, and you're overcomplicating it. And what I've always learned growing up, and like I would try to go fishing with my buddies, like I've got a boat, I want to go fishing with this guy and all my friends, and I want to make it work so everybody can fish together. And it would never work out. Someone would get busy or someone would cancel, and then the trip would get canceled. I just said, screw it, started going fishing by myself. If you want to come, great. And I had a much more enjoyable use of my boat, got out fishing a lot more often, and a lot less stress and headache. Just go fishing. Your friends want to join you, great. The fishing's good or great, that's even better, right? But to answer your question, my favorite time of year to go fishing, if I had a very limited schedule and could only pick and choose a certain time of the year in advance to go fishing, I would pick those transitional periods. Late April, early May, around the first 2 weeks of October, mid-October, those transitional periods between spring and summer, between fall and winter. When water temperatures are changing, in the mid-October is probably the first 2 weeks to mid-October are my favorite times of the year, really, because hurricane season's ending, cold fronts haven't really started yet, numbers of people are lower in the area. End of April, early May is also one of my favorite times of year. Spring break is over, the chaos of spring is behind us. We're gearing up for our crazy, chaotic June and July where everybody and their brother comes out of the woodwork because this stupid red snapper is open. All of a sudden, people that you never see come fishing, and it's just total chaos. So June and July are my least favorite times to go fishing. Definitely would avoid going fishing in June and July. Please avoid it. But late April, early May is a good time because it's cool, or it's still cool. It hasn't gotten crazy hot yet. It's a little slower in the area, and that transitional period's happening. So you're getting those crossovers of that springtime fishery and that summertime fishery. Those would be my favorite times. But also November, December for a killer gag grouper bite. If you're really one of those people that love red snapper, I don't get it. But June and July, obviously, is the only time to get them. I think April is a great time because the deep water closure's over. We're fishing deep for big red grouper, big scamp, and triggerfish opened up. January is a killer time of year when the weather's good because we're getting big mangroves, fat red grouper, scamp. February and March, lightest loads, no one on those long-range trips. Still catching red grouper and scamp grouper. We just got to fish inside of that fence. Still catching plenty of big mangroves too. So lots of good times to go fishing. Do we have any more questions? Let's see if we can grab one more question quickly. What would your recommendation be for a new rod and reel to be used both inshore and offshore fishing, say for a 10-hour trip? So I would come by our shop and I can show you in person what I'd recommend. I'd probably get the red wrapped bull bay rod with like a 3,000 to 4,000 series spinning reel. You could use that on our 5 and 10 hour trips with live shrimp. For mangrove snapper, hogfish, lane snapper, you can use it inshore for snook, redfish, trout, that kind of thing. Plenty of options for you. All right. We are out of time here. Want to make sure we give a shout out to our sponsors and friends and partners. Remember, this live show and all our live shows are brought to you by Gator Jim's Tackle at 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete, 33712, exit 16 on 275 South. Definitely stop by and see Gator Jim's and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Also, give a shout out to our other partners at the Real Animals Fishing Show. If you haven't watched or listened to our Real Animals radio show every Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., you're missing out. You're missing out. It also streams live to our Hubbard's Marina Facebook, the Real Animals Facebook. Check it out. Real Animals Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Our other sponsors at Yamaha, Bass Pro Shops, Engel Coolers, Salt Strong, Aquatic Nutrition, Sport Fishing Chums, Cleanse Oil, and Bull Bay Rods. Big shout out to all of them, and thank you. Also, don't forget to check out Hubbard's Marina on TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and the Nextdoor app. That's a new one. Also, hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully you enjoyed hanging out with us. Something funny, real quick story before we give away our 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. I found out today, I was kind of cruising through the analytics and looking at past live shows. We are going into our 4th year of consecutive weekly shows. That is over 200. Over 200 of these live shows have occurred. That's crazy. That's 200 hours that we have been talking together and enjoying each other's company. So I appreciate you guys all for watching. Also found out my first live, Josh, you'll enjoy this, first live video ever. First time I went to Facebook and went live. May 16th, 2016. We are going into our 6th year of you guys dealing with me every morning for our morning fishing and weather updates. And let me tell you, watching the live stream from May 16th, 2016 was extremely painful for me. I'm very brutal, but really cool to see how far we've come. And really appreciate you being along for the ride and joining us. So super, super appreciative for y'all hanging out. And hopefully we'll see you again next week, and hopefully you enjoy the show. All right, so let's see who won our free 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. That is a $449 value this year. Let's see who won. Hopefully no one from Kentucky. We're going to have a total riot. Karina Abdallah. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching, Karina. Appreciate you all for hanging out with us. Hopefully we'll see you again next week for another episode of the live stream show. If you're a supporter, our supporters after show will start at 9:50 in about 15 minutes. So make sure you hop over to the supporters after show. The private supporters after show happens on the Hubbard's Marina supporters group. If you're not a supporter, you can become one tonight. At the top of our Facebook page, it'll show Become a Supporter. Definitely check it out. You get the after show, you get behind the scenes info, captain and crew schedules, more connectivity and insight, and more communication. It's worth it. Check it out, Hubbard's Marina Supporters Group. It's a lot of fun. We'll see you for the supporters after show, guys, at 9:50 p.m. We'll see the rest of you next week. 8:30 p.m. Don't forget Fox 13 every Friday morning, 8:15. Real Animals Radio Show every Saturday, 6 to 8 a.m. Every Sunday night right here on Facebook and YouTube. Y'all have a good night. Tight lines. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy.